Good morning. You are here for a TNT, so tips and tricks on Google Calendar this morning. And it is January 11th. And for those of you that don't know me, the two of you do, it's Bond, Virginia Bond. Bond is like James, Virginia, like state, and we are off and running. This is a 30-minute session. So I like to call them, these are like hard and fast. And you'll see in here that I have 11 tips to do in 30 minutes, but hopefully that won't be undoable. I put the link to the presentation in the chat. Feel free to make your own copy. And you'll see you have emails in there for me. I also just want to alert you that the new Model Schools catalog comes out the first week of February. So that's always a good time to look for like those new and upcoming trainings that you might be looking for. But today's focus is on Google Calendar. Now, I'm a huge user of Calendar, basically because I have a crazy chaotic mess. And I have kind of a unique situation. I just did a really bad thing, of which I did not want to do. I have a unique situation where at NARIC, we are required to use our Outlook calendars for all scheduling. So because of that, using a Google Calendar can be kind of crazy. What I have learned, a few hacks along the way that I want to use, and I think it's going to make it a little easier. So the first thing I want to show you are the different views that are available in Google Calendar. And the first one is the one that I like the best. So typically you come up into the top, not typically, you come up into the top, and the default for calendar is always in month view. So you have this view that you can see everything going on, and faded means it's gone by. You can see I use lots of colors in my calendars. And one of the other tricks that I use is I actually have my calendars right to each other. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So you have the month view, which is okay, but not my favorite. I'm an actual huge proponent of the week view. So I will, oh my goodness, today, let's just say that life is not loving me today. That's all right. So I love the week view over here, which is W. So if you come in, and you also have a day view, if I click just the letters on my keyboard, it will walk me through them. So day, week, month, year, schedule. So, oh no, that took me into settings. That was a little weird. It's supposed to take me to schedule, I believe. Oh, A is for schedule, my bad. A is for schedule. So I always use week. So they are just the first letter of those things. So day is D, schedule is A. That's a little weird because S is settings. W is week, M is month, Y is year. So I am a huge proponent of the week. I always use a week view. And I have my week set up, of course, 7 days. It goes Sunday to Saturday, so I can see my week like this. You also have one more view in there, which is called custom. So as you can see, the default setting for custom is 4 days. And I have changed this in my settings. So I have come into my settings wheel where you can actually do a ton of work. In the settings, I've gone in there and I come down in here. You just kind of have to look for it. It's right here under view options, and you can set your custom view for what you want it to be. It is set for 4 days. You can make it 2 weeks if you want to see that. I really like 7 days. So it's going to show me 7 days that I can always see, and it'll show me the week that it starts on. So my week starts on a Sunday. Can also just do 5 days. You can kind of set this how you want. So I'm going to change mine to 5 days. Now, remember your settings within calendar, change the minute you hit the back arrow. They're automatically saved. That's not always the way with Google, but in Google Calendar it is. So what I did is I went to the settings wheel and I came down in here and I went down to where it says view options, and you can change your custom view. And that's just the way I like it. So I'm set for week right now, but if I go to custom view, I will only see 5 days, which I kind of like. That's really nice. especially if I'm in a work day. So you'll see from where I was, and I can move through them. So I can kind of advance them across. So some people really like that. I'm going to take mine back because I got to have 7 days because otherwise I'll go crazy. I'm not really sure why, but you can customize those how you want. That's a really good trick to use with students as well, to teach them that they can customize these calendars the way they want them to be. I think we tend to not do that as much because I think we forget. And having that ability to use it like that, can be very helpful. In the summer, I set it to a 5-day calendar. In the week, I set it to a 7-day calendar, and then I use the week. So I change that as at will. Pretty easy to use. Okay, so the next one. So here's my hack when I need to invite myself to things. Because like I said, I have to use an Outlook calendar. That is our requirement at NARIC. And what I've done in the past is I was setting up my NARIC calendar and then spending time every day to come in and set up my Google Calendar. And I was losing a lot of time. So that's not efficient for me. So what I do instead is I actually invite myself to these events. So I'm going to come in here. And I also, on top of all this, I also tech integrate. So if I'm in a district, so I'm going to go back a day into my calendar back here. So this is last week, and I'm just going to click one of these events. So I actually use an app called the Book Me app, and people can come in. Most people know that, seen it before. And what I do is I actually invite myself into the calendar. So this is my NARIC email. And if I click on this, I'll be able to see the guests. So this is my NARIC account. And so all I do is I type up in here, virginia.bond@naric.org. And this one is my salmon account. See, my salmon account. So it feeds right to my Salmon River email or my Salmon River calendar. And that just makes my life a little easier because it means I'm not booking 3 different calendars at the same time. Salmon wants to know where I am. So someone can book with an event with me through that Book Me app. And then I can have that event feed to both my other calendars really easily by just going in and adding myself as a guest. So right here I have prep for PD. So this is one that I have for today, and I'm actually going to come into it and edit it. And I've already invited myself, but I'm also going to add in my Salmon River account because I'm actually doing these for Salmon River. All I have to do is click on that and save it. Now it will feed. And then it's going to ask me, do you want to send email invitations to new Google Calendar guests? And I'm going to say yes. So if you book with me, for an example, if someone comes in and uses the Book Me app and books a time with me, I get this email. I go in, I edit the event, and I have the ability to make changes to it. It's very simple. And it means I don't have to feed 2 calendars. It's a great thing if you are running a business on the side, if you are trying to have this feed to your personal calendar, or like you have a doctor's appointment on your personal calendar that you want to feed into your regular calendar, you can do that. I am actually using my personal Google Calendar to do all of these bookings. Just makes my life a lot easier. Not everybody's comfortable with that. I, on the other hand, am very comfortable with that. So it just is the way you want to do it. I also use colors a lot. You'll see that I have a lot of colors in here. That's so I know what they are. So anytime I make an event, so this one right here, the TNT training, which you're in right now, I'm going to come into it, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to make it purple. It should be a dark purple because anything that I train in is a dark purple. So this comes as an outline. That's because this is an event that comes from somewhere else. So when it's outlined in a color, this actually comes from my Outlook calendar. So I did the same thing in my Outlook calendar when I did the scheduling. I sent it to my Gmail account. And that's why these are outlined. These come from my Gmail account. Everything else, the solid colors, come from my Google account. So I use the colors to know what I'm doing. Green is always a meeting. Purple is always a training or a virtual office hour. It's just the way I do it. It makes more sense to me. I'm a huge user of colors. So let's talk about notifications now. Every event, you can send a notification. So I'm going to come into this kiosk software meeting that I have later today. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to click on the pencil and I'm going to add notifications. I'm going to take the ones in that I have. So there's two kinds of notifications. You have the notification, which is a pop-up. And the pop-up comes into your actual screen. So it comes to your screen, good morning. And what that does, so you can have them, they'll pop up on your laptop, or if you have it set, it will also pop up on your phone. I like things to pop up on my phone, especially when I'm in a district, because that reminds me that I have to do them, right? So notifications, and you can change the time. So I can change the time from 10 minutes down to like 3 minutes. So think about your students that are having a hard time getting to class. If you set a calendar event with the link to where they have to go, you can actually give them a pop-up notification that the event is coming. So that she's like, oh, right? So I'm going to do that right now, Candy. So you can see in here, I'm going to do a 3-minute notification that I have a kiosk meeting, right? It's a green meeting. I'm going to add myself as a guest. So I'm going to do all these pieces in there. I'm going to add my NARIC account in as a guest. And I'm actually going to write a note to myself. In the note, this is a WebEx meeting. So I'm just writing a note in there that it's a WebEx meeting and I know what it has to go to. So it's pretty simple. So not only do we have notifications, those pop-ups, you also have emails. So think about every time you have a meeting with someone, you can schedule it in calendar, you can add them as a guest, and then you can force an email to go to them. So you can do either these pop-ups or these email notifications. And I also get email notifications the day before an event is to start. So what I do is I take this down to 1 day, 1, and then I do day. You can also do 1 hour. So you can have multiple notifications. I think you can go up to 5. I love the notifications. That's how I use my calendar. I get an agenda, which I set through my settings. I get a daily reminder at 6 o'clock every morning of my agenda. And it's just automatically set to myself. So bonehead me doesn't even have to check my email. What's nice about that too is sometimes I hit a spot where I'm not able to access maybe my Outlook calendar, but since my Outlook calendar is replicated in my Google Calendar, I'm getting an agenda for the day and I know what's coming up. So it just helps me stay aware. So that's the next thing. So I'm going to cancel that and I'm going to save that because this is a reoccurring event. It says, do I want to do it for just this one or all of them? I'm going to do it for all of them. So I'm always going to get these couple things. I don't have to send this one. So you just have to stop and read what's going on. Okay, so there's the next one. So we've already done adding guests, but I'm going to do it one more time. And you just saw me kind of click through it. If I come into this and I add guests, you see I added guests. If I took myself out, right, and I remove myself, but then I'm like, no, that was stupid. I want to add myself back in. It'll say when I go to save it, it will, typically, sorry, because I'd already added myself in. When I add myself in, it'll say, do you want to send an email? So just think about, do we want to send an email? Like, I don't always necessarily need to send an email to myself, okay? Because I usually know this is just calendar clarification. But if I was going to do this and move this over here, so actually this is another tip and trick. We don't have to recreate events. We literally can just click and drag them around, okay? So because I'm moving it, it says, would you like to send update emails to existing Google Calendar guests? Yeah, right? I'm moving the event. So we've all been under the assumption that I have to go through and I actually have to like delete an event and change it. No. Google's using some nice simple tools. I can literally just click and drag things around. So administrators think about when you have a meeting that has to be moved, you don't necessarily have to go in and delete it. You can just go in and edit too. So I can click in here. If I I'm going to send myself into a tizzy today. I'm going to move it back. I literally can just move it back. I can do it that way. I don't have to delete it and reinvent the wheel. I can just move it on my own, which makes life so much easier. This time I'm not going to send it. By the time I get done with this, I'm going to have like 40 emails to myself. So just so we can click and drag. We can also go in and edit them. So it's going to bring everything. It's going to say, do you want to email the people? I do. If there's outsiders involved, it's just a lot easier. And it's the alert to them that it's coming. All right. So that's my next big trick. All right, so video conferencing tools. This has been kind of the game changer for me that has made life much easier. I can come in, oh, sorry, I did the wrong thing. Sometimes it happens. I can come in and hit the edit. And you can come in right over here. If you go all the way to the right on your Google Calendar, you have a little plus sign and it says get add-ons. So you can add certain things in. So now from my Google Calendar, I schedule from WebEx, I schedule Zoom, and I schedule Meets. I do all three. So I can go through here and let's say I'm going to set up my Zoom to get my Zoom ready to go. I click the plus sign and all I have to do is go through the installation process. So I'm just going to start this really quickly. It'll go through and it'll say, hey, what do you want to install for? And I'm going to say, well, I want to install for my Gmail account. And it'll say, do you want to do all these things? And I say, yes, absolutely. Now, most people do not have to have a Gmail. Not have to have a Meet and Zoom and WebEx. But what I have found, because I use it for so many things, it just makes my life easier. So if I hit a refresh on this, they should all populate into that. And then I will have, you will see here, Google Meet. Yep, thanks. It's always going to default to a Google Meet. So when I come and click the Google Meet, thank you, I'm going to click back. Let's make a new one. It'll make my life a little easier. We'll come down and put one in here. When I come in here, you'll see video conferencing, and all three of my video conferencing components are in there: Meet, WebEx, and Zoom. Plus, I've linked my personal room for Zoom. For WebEx, so I can actually just add that right in. So if somebody wants to do a meeting, say if Princetti wants to do a meeting with me, all I have to do is come in. She can have already booked it. I'll come in. I know who uses what, so I can just come in and automatically set it. It makes my life a lot easier in the long run. It means I don't have to go out to Meet. I don't have to go out to Zoom. So using those tools right from within it makes life a lot easier. Okay, so scheduling directly from calendar. So I think everybody knows how to do this, but we'll just do a quick one. Come down here. I just come in. A quick event means I can add something really quickly, but if I always want full-blown options, here's all my options. All I have to do is add more. So there's two kinds of ads. There's a quick ad, which is single click, and I get this little menu. And then there's a full ad, which is a double click. And if I double click, I get a full-blown pop-up menu. So all I did is, you can get to it through the single click. I'm very lazy. I like to do the quickest way possible. So the double click gives me more options. I can go right in and do the whole thing quicker. All right, so that's a full ad. Next one, attaching agendas. I don't know if I could say this enough to people to make them get this any other way. Administrators, put in your staff meeting. So here's a staff meeting that we have, right? Every week we have this staff meeting. So we use an agenda all the time. Now I can just attach it, or I can do this really handy dandy thing, which is I'm going to go find it for you. So it's out in my drive, and it's in my other drive, of course, because it's not in my NARIC drive, and it's not in my personal drive. It's in my NARIC drive. It's a shared document that our team uses, and we take notes on it. So I'm going into our shared drive. It's in our instructional team. It's in our agendas, but what I can do is I can copy just the address. So they're in here, and it might not be the exact one, but it'll work. We're just gonna grab right here. I'm going to get the link. And thank you. Of course it has to think today because we're trying to do it quickly. Come on there, puppy head. There we go. I'm going to copy the link. Now I'm going to come out here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the link in here. I'm going to paste the link in. Okay. And there's my Google Doc, and I'm going to save it. Now, I want it to go to all my events. Okay. I'm going to push it into all my events. So now, every time I come to my team meeting and I come in here, my agenda is right there. So if you set your staff meetings ahead, you can use the same agenda all year long, and gone are the excuses. I don't know where the agenda is, or I don't know where the things are, or I have a team meeting, or we're working with an RTI team, or I'm working with a teacher. You put anything in there. So if you're working with a student, it's a reoccurring document, Candy, you can put it in there and they can keep having it. And you can make this a reoccurring meeting. So since this is a reoccurring meeting that I have weekly on Thursdays, it's going to show up on every Thursday calendar event, and I don't have to go find it. This is what I've had to teach my team how to do because it's much easier. It makes me much more efficient because I know exactly where it is when I have to find it. Okay, so next one. By the way, attaching agendas is a game changer, and I'm going to totally throw people under the bus, but not anybody you know. So PE teachers are the absolute worst with technology. They're much better now, but especially old school, like the old guys, they're like, I don't know where the agenda is, or I don't know I had a meeting, or I don't, right? But if you send it to them through calendar and you attach the agenda, no excuses. Then it's on them, not on you anymore. So just keep that in mind. So reoccurring events, when we go in and we make reoccurring events, so I'm just going to put in here prep for next day. Okay, so it's right in there, prep for next day. And I'm going to do, it's going to be a repeat, but I want to do custom. So I'm going to do a reoccurring event custom. So I can come in here, I can have it every Monday, right? And I can have it go until April 12th. So this is going to go, I can also do so many occurrences, or, right, what I typically like to do is I like to do these. I'll push things out for an entire school year, right? So every Monday for whenever it does to repeat, I clicked out a little too fast. After June 30th, so June 30, 2021. And I'm done. So every Monday, that's going to push out into my calendar, and I'm just going to put a hold. I'm going to put an orange hold on it. That's my color that I use for holds, right? So this is going to now push to every Monday that I have, right? So which is cool. It's a simple way to do it. When I set events up for the school year, I almost always, I will do them half year chunks. So I typically go till December, and then I'll start again in January. I'll push out until June. And key scheduling has changed along the way. Just allows me to not have to touch those things all the time. If you have a reoccurring staff meeting, that's every first Thursday of the month at 2 o'clock, you can go and put them all in. And you can do the whole year all at once. And it makes life a lot easier. It means you don't have to play with your calendar. So we've already moved time just by clicking and dragging. So have staff meetings in one calendar with agendas all attached. I've already said that. So sometimes I get all excited. I put it in twice. But that for districts that use it is really a like changer for their life. So, and the other thing that they do is what I see a lot of districts do is this. I'm going to go back to my month view. Nope, I lied to you. I'm going to go back to my week view. And what I'm going to do is come over here and I want to see my sidebar. So you notice that like my sidebar disappeared, right? I always do that when I'm training. But if I click the hamburger on the left side, it will pop back up. And you'll notice I'm only showing one calendar. So I'm only showing this one calendar because a lot of these other calendars are Google Classroom calendars that I do not want mucking up the works, right? Because there can be a lot of things in these, and the more I add to it, the tighter that it gets. This top calendar is always my own calendar. But if I come into the three dots, I can get into my settings. So I want to go into my settings and look at that. So when I come down here and I look at accessing permissions, this is where I can make my calendar public. Now, I use a public calendar. School calendars, any calendars related to NARIC or Russian or any other school, they're considered to be public anyway. Anyone has the ability to see them. Unless the district has made a decision, most do not. Because this is in my personal account, I have made a decision to make this calendar public. And I'm allowing people to see all events. You don't have to. You can just make it so they can see busy or free. So I don't really care. It's not like I'm doing anything weird, but I can get a shareable link. I can also share the calendar with specific people. When I get a shareable link, it means I can take this link and I can share it to people and they can add my calendar to their calendar. So when you talk about making calendars for people, you can make new calendars. You always have the add a calendar feature. You can have a building calendar. You could have a counseling calendar, Candy. So you could have just your counseling calendar, which means it wouldn't be applicable to your personal calendar. They wouldn't be overlaid. You would have the ability to overlay them, but you wouldn't necessarily have to have them the same way. So I think that's just helpful to have that ability. Doing that and sharing that public link out to staff, though, allows them to grab it and make their own copy and add it. So if you're going to use a public calendar in a building or an agenda or a meeting calendar, you want to make it public and then have staff turn it on at the first staff meeting of the year, because then they're in charge of it, not you. So much easier. So my last tip is to use the find a time. Now I use Calendly, but you don't necessarily have to do that. So let's see that I'm going to do this in here and I'm going to come into the edit and I want to add somebody into the calendar. I can come into find a time right in here and I have to add a guest to be able to do that. So I'm going to add myself in, all right? And what you will see is you'll see my calendar, if I'm using Google Calendar, aligned down the side, right? It's a kind of really cool little thing that you can do in there. It works best within a domain. So Candy, it's going to work best with other people in BMCSD. NARIC, it's going to work best with our NARIC or CAP region BOCES or anyone that you have access to their calendar. So you can find a time that they can book you in there pretty easily. It's great if you're working with, it's great if you're a classroom teacher who has co-teachers and you need to find a time when you're both available, or it's great if you're someone who has TAs and you're trying to align all your TAs. You can invite them all. You can see all of their calendars and they'll line up. Just their calendars have to be up to date. So that's kind of one of, I think, an underused trick that people have used in the past. And then all you have to do is you just come in and you book a date. That's it. It's easy, easy, easy peasy. All right. So there are all my tips and tricks for Google Calendar. Hopefully you've gotten, so 11 in like, I'm going to stop sharing. I tell you, I can do these really fast now. So I'm going to stop sharing. Thanks, everybody. And then 28 minutes. Yes. Okay.